Hey Mike, how are you?
Hey, John, I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate the time. So excited to have you on. Thanks for
Yeah,
joining.
yeah. Thanks for having me on and finding me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, let's start out with your story. Tell me how you got into payments, and how your time at Nationwide and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so I got into payments, I guess kind of by accident. I was I was in the food service business for sales, selling like coffee setups for businesses and small businesses like bagel stores, delis, and things like that. And a friend of mine told me she was had a sales job, a new sales job, and I said, "What is it?" She said she was credit card processing, and I said, what do you mean?" And she said, "Yeah, like credit card machines." And I said, "Come on, there's people that do that." I said, "Don't you just call Visa and tell me?" She's like, "No, there's people that do that." I said, "Oh my, come on!" I like didn't almost believe it. I can't believe there's people that actually let do this. So a week later, so she said to me, "Hey, can I give her some sales help?" So I said, "Well, what's your pitch?" Her pitch sucked. I said, "All right, let me think about it." A week later, one of my customers in that coffee business told me she needed to get a credit card machine per like the corporate. She was like a cafeteria in a building. And I said, "Hey, I know people that can help you out with that." So I kind of went to these people's office and I said, "Hey, I have a client for you guys, but I need some info." I said, "Your guys' pitch sucks." I said, "This is really like bad stuff." And so and I kind of that's kind of how I got cracking, and I kind of did it simultaneously, doing my coffee food service, and then finding clients that I could sell both to. And then when I used to love cold calling, and I kind of like go hand out business cards or postcards or whatever. And then so I had a nice little run in just the credit card processing business. I was doing well, and I kind of I kind of was scratching my head because there's a lot of fraud in the industry that I noticed. And we used to buy buyer zone leads. And I had people that were set up to make phone calls that I trained. These were older guys that were really good inside sales reps. I used to get buyer zone leads that would come in. Buyer zone leads are for all industries.
Hmm.
Food service, we would get them. That's how I knew about them. But I was getting them for POS and for payment processing. And it was started out, these buyer zone leads were great. We would jump on them and these gave these guys hot leads to work. But over time, what happened was 19 out of every 20 leads was fraud.
Oof.
It was people committing synthetic identity theft, where
Hmm.
they would steal someone's identity, impersonate their business. They would apply for a payment account with companies like mine. They would probably get away with stealing $20,000 to $30,000 before the back end processor would kind of flag the account. And by that time, they were out like a thief in the night. So I had to stop buying the buyer zone leads, and I just said, "Well, someone's got to like, how does this system like last?" And then I was noticing a lot of fraud with chargebacks.
Hmm.
I was like, I didn't have an answer for people because people were like, would call me and say, "Hey, we have a weird situation. Somebody wants to buy like a piece of jewelry." I mean, it was like a furniture store. People selling higher end goods. And I was always telling them, "Well, I can't promise you that the payment's going to be good." I said, "It sounds kind of to me like it might be fraud." And people were like, "Well, this isn't a good answer. You have no option for us." So then I realized I kind of learned about Bitcoin. And I said, "Oh my God, this is the answer I've been looking for." It solves two problems. Because I said Bitcoin is an invention of sending money from A to B without A knowing B or B knowing A. There could be no fraud or reversal on a Bitcoin transaction. I said, "My God, this is the answer for people." And then when I learned more about it, they also invented digital scarcity. where there's only, if you know anything about Bitcoin, there's only ever going to be 21 million Bitcoins that are ever created through this process called proof of work mining. I said, wow, that's another answer to the problem of how this financial system lasts. And then I learned about gold standard and how the dollar used to be backed by gold and how silver used to be in the coinage. I said, oh my God, what a mess we're in with this financial system. And then I set out on the Bitcoin journey because I said, well, how the hell are people going to realize that this is something needed? The only reason I realize it is because I've been blessed to work in payment processing and I've seen all this fraud and all this horrible stuff occurring. I could actually shed light on why Bitcoin's needed. And in the process of that, I learned about Litecoin. Litecoin is nearly identical to Bitcoin, but it's just a better cryptocurrency for payments. It's Bitcoin and Litecoin are the most decentralized cryptocurrencies. There's no company behind either cryptocurrency.
Hmm.
So there's no company attached to it. There's no central authority. There's no powers to be. But Litecoin is just a more scalable, better for payments version. So I said, well, being in the payments business, I really have to get involved with this Litecoin. This is really, really tailored to what I'm doing. And kind of became I became Johnny Litecoin on social media, and I set out on a Twitter journey and promoting on Twitter, and we were setting up businesses to accept Litecoin and Bitcoin for payment, and just kind of helping people out with wallets and payment gateways, and I did that for a few years, and then COVID hit, and then I was still involved in crypto, but I kind of, I guess, moved away from maybe the merchant payment end of it. Just became more involved in there's a lot of stuff in crypto. There's like these things called decentralized exchanges.
Hmm.
Um, Basically, think of your Coinbase or your Gemini or your PayPal. Those are centralized exchanges, meaning there's a company behind it. A decentralized exchange is a protocol or a smart contract that powers everything. And users provide the liquidity for the trades to go through.
Oh,
And my God, that's a really cool thing. That's the payment business in the future.
right.
And anybody can get involved. I said, I love the idea of this. There's no red tape. You want to get involved. It's like in the merchant business, you want to get an account, we call it. It's kind of complicated. You got to go sell. You got to convince the people. Do they have a contract? Do they not have a contract? You got to pay for the equipment. How much money are you laying out? How long are you going to take to get your ROI? The POSs, they have all these integrations, yeah, so on and so forth. I said in the crypto world, you could just provide liquidity to a decentralized exchange, make money on the trades going through. If you want out, you just pull your liquidity out. So
Hmm.
this is really cool. So I kind of got involved with helping people out with onboarding into these decentralized exchanges and really more just different products around Litecoin, different wallets, and still some stuff with payments, but just not as payment like merchant payment focused. And I still work in the regular payments business. I have a ton of equipment out there, point of sale equipment, terminals, people using payment gateways, and yeah, I'm just really just a payments guy. So that's where I'm at now.
You're all payment channels. You're not exclusive to anyone, right?
No, nope, nope. I'm everything payments.
That I love that. And I'm really interested because, when after I left my last company, um, I was really, really interested in how crypto could be used with merchant payments.
Okay.
And I started kind of playing around with that, seeing if I could build a platform around it. So I'm curious to hear what you think, maybe why it hasn't caught on the merchant space yet. Where's that adoption going? Like, where are we there? And
So we would be much, much farther along but we have every force in the world working against us.
Hmm. Why is that?
So we had something called Operation Choke Point, and then we had Operation Choke Point 2.0. Choke Point 1.0, as you remember from the regular traditional payments business, was basically the government, in so many words, telling the banks, hey, you can't provide banking services for these following industries and
Hmm.
gun manufacturers and different online gambling and different whatever they said we don't want. Banks went down and would shut down tons of accounts. They became unbankable. Kind of why you see cannabis businesses, it's really a struggle to process payments, to
Right.
bank them. Choke Point 2.0 came about and they targeted cryptocurrency. They said to the banks, no more doing any business with anybody that doesn't even smells like crypto.
Hmm.
So everything cool that we built got taken away from us. I used to have a Litecoin Visa card that got taken away.
Huh.
So everything's got taken away. And there's been a lot of effort by the government to really, what I say was be distract us, provide a lot of false media out there. See, there's a lot of bad cryptocurrencies out there. And greed has, it's not only the government and the banks and all that. Greed has taken over where the people involved in crypto look at it like a casino.
Mm-hmm.
And there's these things called meme coins.
Yep.
And that's not what I'm into at all. That to me is like a cancer of the crypto industry. I'm into quality cryptocurrencies that can be transferred to move value and can be used as this ulterior monetary system that runs simultaneously next to the banking system and provides an alternative fraud free way to transact. So there's been a lot of effort to slow us down. Started in probably 2018. We really kind of jumped out of the gates fast. And, back in 2017, 2018, they kind of colluded to what they call pop the crypto bubble.
Hmm.
And they created a futures contract. And at the time, the intention was get the Bitcoin price down.
Hmm.
Kind of took the wind out of, even if you listen to Trump and, Trump now, people think, oh, Trump's so pro crypto. He hated crypto his first term, right?
Yeah.
So, he did a lot to harm us that first term, my God. And so we had that to deal with. That slowed things down. But then we kind of got out when COVID hit, we kind of got out of the gates again. And we were kind of having some good traction. We saw some good products coming to market. And they, there was a few things. One was called FTX, one was called Celsius, one was called Voyager. A lot of these were lending based platforms, all
Mm-hmm.
centralized, where you'd put your money in, they would supposedly lend it out the back door, and they'd pay you a interest. Well, a lot of people lost a lot of money in these, and coincidentally, after that happened, we had this big government crackdown. So we've had it we had a war on all fronts as far as people building, trying to get merchant payment adoption, where we have the government working through the banks coming after us, where they won't bank any companies, and companies just said, hey, we just don't want to touch crypto. It's too risky right now. The
Hmm.
media, oh, crypto's a joke. It's so risky. And then the public looks at it as, oh, crypto, that's this crazy thing, not as an invention in money and payments. People just look at it as, hey, it's this high risk scam, where people like me, I had no interest in the making money aspect of it at first. For me, it was just, hey, how can we transfer value around better and offer merchants a better way to transact? So that's really why the merchant end has struggled. Now, Litecoin itself, has had a ton of payment adoption. You're not noticing it in like retail point of sale because that's all blocked. See, they also wouldn't approve any of the integrations that would
Uh,
be. So it's simple, super simple to integrate crypto into a point of sale or a gateway. I mean, it's really simple. I mean, it's not much red tape at all. There's a blockchain. There's block explorers that show you transactions coming in. You just really need to scan a block explorer and say, "Hey, a payment's on its way. Okay, green check mark. Your payment has been sent."
mhm.
Super technically, it's super simple to do an integration with crypto, but it's just all this cloudy waters. But where we notice the payment adoption is in things where merchant accounts really can't perform well.
Mm,
And that's merchants selling precious metals, high-end watches, luxury goods,
mm.
any item of value, 10, 20, 30, $50,000 transaction. Now you're talking about the fees coming into play. Okay, we somebody could offer crypto at 1 or 2% converted into US dollar versus a credit card at 3 or 4% on a $50,000 transaction. 2% is $1,000. But on
Right.
precious metals, it's a low profit margin to begin with. So they'll basically say, hey, here's your price if you pay with crypto. Here's your price if you pay with a credit card or PayPal. Um, and then the fact that there could be no fraud. So
Yeah, you
that's
avoid the chargeback risk, right?
avoid that. So that's where we see the adoption at. And like I said, Litecoin has really shined. Litecoin is the most used cryptocurrency for payments
Oh.
uh, among small business or any type of business. Litecoin is the top coin used.
Hmm.
Uh, and even it's published, it's publicly verifiable. Look at a company like BitPay. BitPay is the largest crypto payment gateway, definitely in the US and I believe in the world. And they publish stats, and month in and month out, Litecoin has the highest transaction volume. Um,
Even more so than is Litecoin a stable coin or no?
nope.
No.
Litecoin is really identical to Bitcoin. It's just a
Okay.
faster, you could just handle more throughput. It's just a faster version. So, now we have these stable coins that are kind of people like me. I'm a payments guy, so I'm about freedom. Whatever people want to pay with, cool.
Yeah.
I personally don't like stable coins because to me that's not crypto.
Yeah.
That's just a synthetic version of the dollar that moves around on a blockchain.
Hmm.
I mean, it maybe solves the fraud problem, but doesn't solve this money printing issue of where, let's face it, there's major inflation out there, and being in the payments business has actually kind of been a hedge against inflation going on because if you're an ISO or you have credit card terminals and point of sale out there, you're making money on all the volume that flows through.
Right.
With all the inflation, let's face it, our industry has done well with it,
Hmm.
where we've kept up with inflation, where most people, their job hasn't. Their job's given them a 2 or 3% raise a year. And, you know, there's a lot of manipulation in how the government does the CPI. There's really the inflation's a lot greater than they're making it seem like. So they tell you 3%, we're probably at a 6 or 7% inflation year in and year out. And you can just see it and go buy any type of go buy anything. I mean, I even just brought clothes to a dry cleaner, and I said, "Oh, I can't believe what I'm paying compared to 4 or 5 years ago." And then
Yeah.
you buy any food. I mean, I just did a few menu changes for merchants, and they wanted to raise prices. The average
Yeah.
price that I raised was 25%.
Wow. That's a big
25%
increase.
price increase on average of what I've done in these menu changes. So,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow, that's incredible. So you are still working with a lot of merchants, in the restaurant retail space,
I am.
and
Yep.
they're increasing prices, huh? So
Yeah.
that
Yeah. There's a lot of, and even if it's not in the food cost,
Hmm.
where I think the food cost has kind of stabilized in the last maybe year or so. It's in the maybe the packaging has went up a lot. Maybe the labor cost is going through the roof. So the cost for these restaurants to employ anybody has skyrocketed. So let's face it, that goes into their overall cost. They have to charge more. You want to buy a chicken sandwich, and if they have to pay people double to make it, well, guess what? If you were paying $10 a few years ago and now they're paying everyone double, they got to at least charge you $13, $14 now to make it worthwhile for them if you were paying 10 a few years back. So we're seeing a lot of yeah, but I'm still really involved, and I have a ton of point of sale equipment out there, and ton of guys that I work with that are really good salespeople, and then I kind of help them do the setups and installs, maybe close deals, and
So what's
you
your
know
pitch to people like that that are feeling the pinch right now? Are you going in at a payments angle, or it sounds like you do a lot of more, a lot of all around stuff as well. Like you're consulting, you're going over fees, you're going over menu changes with them. So what's your in? Like how do you help these salespeople get into it's a very competitive space. So how do you win?
Sure. With us, it's just being good at what we do and providing a higher level of service.
Hmm.
A lot of us all offer the same equipment or software, but
Hmm.
it's being an expert of that equipment or software and then helping them out with the setup, being there to train them, programming the menu, answering calls at night. Let's face it, these companies all have 24-hour tech support, which, other than a few of the smaller POS companies, the bigger companies, I won't name them by name, but their tech support is awful at best. And it's completely awful. They don't help the merchant. They keep the merchant on the phone forever.
Yeah.
Merchant gets frustrated. So if we have the merchant call on to tech support, that's usually consider that customer bye bye. So we help them out direct. Basically me, I'll become an admin in their back end so I can go into the back end portal and flow through all the accounts I handle and just help them make changes. I have tons of equipment ready to go so I can load up a device, access the back end. So that's really our angle is just, hey, giving people that higher level of service. And then when you've done it for so many years, people know, hey, wow, you guys are good at what you do. We get a lot of referrals coming in. And that's really how we compete. It is a competitive business, but if you give that higher level of service for long enough, you become in demand, just like a painter or carpenter has a demand for their services if they're good. Same
Hmm.
thing in the payments business.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense. And what are some of those things, I imagine with your expertise also comes efficiency, right? Because you know what you're doing. You're not
Yes.
you're not making that merchant jump through a bunch of hoops and
No.
then do it again later on. So what are some of those efficiencies that you've seen that help you win? Like during this onboarding process, what are the big friction points, even in your sales process or with, setting up a merchant? Where do you win there?
We really win as far as if it's a retail type of merchant, just how we're going to handle the install. Basically, make it completely stress free for the business where they don't have to think.
Yeah.
We're going to program everything. We're going to configure all the modifiers in your menu, all your bar, whatever you have. We're going to configure stuff, fire the printers, set up the printers. A lot of times they need new wiring in the kitchen. So, like when you are a restaurant and you go to punch your order in on a screen, that order fires to a kitchen. Traditionally, it was always a printer that prints out a receipt and tells the
Hmm.
cooks what to make. Now we're seeing more screens in the kitchen, what they call like a how do they call that? A KDS, a
Yeah.
kitchen display system.
Hmm.
It's just configuring all that so it fires right. A lot of times we have to bring somebody in to run new wires. So we have people that are experts at running wires. We pay those people directly.
Hmm.
So really, we provide a lot of upfront investment into getting that. I look at it as, hey, we're investors. We're not salespeople. I'm investing in your business. If we have to put in 3 stations and 4 printers and then rewire everything and our time, energy, and effort, well, let's face it, we're probably into the place for 8 or 9 grand. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And all our time. So we're really investing our time and money into getting that exact. So really, we want to make it where the merchant sticks. We want to do everything perfect to get our money back. If that merchant plugs, if the equipment's plugged in and 2 months later they say, hey, it's not working for me, come pick it up. We lost because we paid for all that. Now we got to find a new home for it.
Yeah.
And so that's really where we win. It's saying, hey, because we laid out all this money for this merchant, we need to really provide that high level of service and have everything be on point. And there's a lot of tweaking. So when the merchant goes live, we're there. We're sitting there with you while you're operating your business. We're making all those changes on the fly. That way, by the time we leave or do we have to come back, we come back the next day. We're available. If you need somebody at night, if it's a bar, we send somebody there at night to sit with you.
Yeah.
Um, that's really where we shine is doing all of that. And then, but the flip side is we can, there's a lot more margin in the business than there used to be. Years ago, when I started doing this, we went up and down the road. We said, hey, we can save you money. Can you give me a merchant statement? And then I was always good at reading the merchant statements. So then a
Hmm.
lot of guys that did sales would have me come to like meetings with them. Hey, can you read the statement for me? And I could read it on the spot, right? Give me a 10, 15 seconds. I could start telling the merchant, hey, here's your fees, here's your basis points. They're
Yeah.
manipulating your interchange. You got a triple transaction fee. They're manipulating the dues and assessments. You got this, you're not compliant. And we had to really, it was a race to zero back in the day. I mean, back in the day, we were signing merchants up. A merchant called me last month. Could they get better rates? They're at 4 basis points over
Oh,
interchange.
wow.
I said 4 basis points. I said I wouldn't even think about signing you up today at 4 basis points. I'd just
Yeah.
tell you ta ta. But back then it was so competitive, we would sign you up at a 4 basis points.
Right.
So that's the benefit now is there's more upfront investment with all the point of sale, but we're able to return on that investment a lot faster because there's a higher margin. And the cash discounting has helped out, or
Yeah.
dual pricing, or whatever mental gymnastics people want to use to make it compliant. But that's also put a lot more margin back into the equation. I guess even competing with the companies like Square and Toast, they charge a lot for their service. So now we have a lot. It's not like we're competing against back in the day like a Heartlands, who was, hey, the merchant's at 8 basis points. What could we do?
Yeah.
Now we're like, oh, they have Square. They're doing a lot of keyed transactions. Everything's at 3.5% plus 15 cents. We have a lot of room to work with. So that's, there's always good and bad of everything, of where things turn, I guess.
Yeah, that's a really good point actually. And one that I haven't heard often, but is true, right? These, Stripe and Square, Toast even, they have these, it's great software, but they really have increased the margin so that if
Yeah.
when you go into a merchant, it's helped, right?
They're a friend. I mean, people say, oh, I hate Toast. I hate Toast. I say, well, they're a competitor, but if anything, they're helping you guys out because they're not doing it at razor thin margin. They're have a nice healthy margin in there. Now you can come in and save some money from the Toast software, and you look like a hero, and you could do the merchant fees for a little bit better. So it's definitely the business has changed. Where, like I said, 15 years ago, it was all statements and terminals, and if we did a point of sale, it was paying for what they called an EDC license back in the day, and you would they would have a POS, and then we would pay that company a fee to integrate with their point of sale, and then we would give them, get industry lingo, what we call a VAR sheet. We would provide them a VAR sheet,
Yep. Yep.
and that was that. That was you look. That
Good.
was an easy way to go. Now it's a lot more. We get a lot more calls coming in. There's a lot of
You do.
calls of we do. It's not set and forget anymore. And now it's a
Hmm.
lot of hey, oh, this isn't firing right, or that's not firing right, or a lot of tweaking with the POS and troubleshooting kitchen printers and stuff. So I do love getting a gateway only account.
Yes,
That's a
we all do, don't
Oh
we?
my God, that's a dream. That's a
Like
dream.
hell yeah. Here's a VAR sheet. I plug it in. You're good.
I set up my brother gave me a lead back in the summer, and I set up a merchant doing over $1 million a month in payment processing. I never had to go to the location, and all they use is a gateway, and we connected with their software that they utilize for their business. And what a beautiful thing, you know what I mean? So we really value those accounts.
Yes, we do. They're
Yeah,
the best.
they're the best. They're the best.
Yeah. And I mean, so tell me this, because I get a lot of questions about this process from agents that I work with, calls. The biggest pain point, I think, with those POS merchants coming off something like Toast or Square is they want you to integrate into Toast or Square or whatever it is because they don't know that we
Yep,
can't, right? They just
yep,
want lower rates. And then when you tell them, well, I have to replace your entire system if this is what you want. And they're like, oh man, that the conversation, you know, there's a fork in the road there.
yes.
What do how do you guys deal with that? Like what's the strategy?
Um, I tell people, look, really simple. Don't beat a dead horse. If the merchant's got a brand new Toast system, you're
Hmm.
telling me it's a great lead. I don't really view that as a great lead. I tell people it's not a lead if there's no need.
Mm.
Have to we determine if it's a good lead, not them. Like I've been out with salespeople. Oh, this is a great lead. I said, what did they have? They tell me what they had. I said, what makes you think it's a great lead? What? A great conversation with the merchant. I said, well, they sound like a nice guy. Like, they were very respectful. They didn't throw you out. Kudos to them, but that's not a good lead. The other merchant that threw you out of there has a Verifone VX520 terminal. That's a phenomenal lead. Go back there. I know they told you never come back again. Go back in there the next month. Hey, is your terminal still working, or is it a paperweight yet? We determine if it's a good lead. So I just tell people there's a lot of business out there. Move on, and if again, be proud of what we do because we're providing a lot of capital investment into this. And look, let's face it, if you're giving all that equipment for free,
Yep.
if they have a Toast or a Square and you can give them something, you have to give them something better in order for them to want it. And then as long as you're providing a higher level of service, something better, then you could get in there. But if they say, hey, I love Toast, I want you to integrate with this, just say if Toast gives you a problem or if you think the software fee is too much, if there's some stuff we could help you out with,
Hmm.
give us. You got to be an expert at what you do. I mean, you know, we'll have people that we work with that are graphic artists that can make a gift card for you. They can tweak your file you give us. You give us a file, we're going to tweak it. We're going to put this on there, that on there. Maybe we buy you the gift cards. Maybe we help you out with your e-commerce. Maybe we help you with your Uber Eats integration into the system. You have to be an expert at what you do. But really, when it's a lot of times when they have an issue with that company, that's when they kind of reach out to you. But in
Right.
a sense, if it's a cloud-based system, a lot of these companies are all going to have the same issue because there's a big problem right now with the cloud-based infrastructure. So if
Hmm.
you're a cloud system, you're going to see a lot of out, or we have seen a lot of outages in these cloud-based systems. because they're all going to these data centers, which are getting overloaded. And people don't, a data center goes down. It's like people are like, hey, why did the system have a problem on a Friday and it wasn't solved till Saturday morning? It's like, well, their data center went down. And it's not
Yep.
like they don't just flip a switch and it goes back on. They're going to blow up their town if they do that. It
Yeah.
takes electrical engineers in 8 hours to get a data center back up and running. So, but that's really, I just my main thing is that people, it's not a lead if they don't have a need. And that
Mhm.
you got to just keep it moving and focus on who is a good lead. Newer businesses that are opening up, those are a great lead. Hey, you get in there first with the point of sale before they open. Now
Mhm.
you're there from the start. You helped invest in their business. You made their life easier. You were there for good support. You're never going to lose that merchant. You know what I mean? You help get them up and running. You help make their business successful. So that's really what I would tell people.
That's excellent advice. Excellent advice. And I did see on your website too, speaking of, new businesses or even existing ones, you guys you guys advertise funding for small business. Do you do any of that at all? Like, hey, we can get you some capital to help open a new location or buy a new fridge when you need it and
I
tie that
mean,
into the merchant account.
some of the companies, the POS companies, like a Clover or a Square, they'll offer funding directly.
Hmm.
It's an area of the business I used to like maybe 10 plus years ago, 12
Yeah.
years ago.
Like merchant cash advance type stuff.
Yeah, it's not, it's kind of something I steer away from.
Okay.
The merchants getting I don't see it being a means to an end of success. If you're borrowing money at 35 or 40%, and that's not even for a year payback.
Right.
You're paying
Like
back 35
4 months.
to 40% in 6 months,
Yeah.
7 months. So, if you have to if you have inventory you have to buy for an event, or you have equipment you have to buy and you're really using it specific to improve the business or to run a huge advertising campaign or something that's going to bring you a lot of business in, great, then it could help your business. But if you're robbing Peter to pay Paul, it's burying the business. And that's usually when merchants need a cash advance. Usually when they need it, they can't even get it because their account's negative balance.
Yeah.
They owe money to vendors. Maybe they have a tax lien or something, and they're wanting to borrow money at 35 or 40%, and they're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Right.
So
Right.
for me, I try to, if they call about that, hey, what could we do to maybe help you out, streamline to me? I could take a look at some stuff, help you clean up some expand. A lot of merchants, I've seen merchants' bank statements, and it's like you're paying $2,000 a month in overdraft fees. You want a cash advance? You. What are you doing here? You don't need a cash advance. You need a better bookkeeper. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you need to look at some fundamentals before
Yeah.
taking
So
on debt.
I really try to stay away from the merchant capital thing if I could. If
Right.
I could. Yeah.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Okay, one last touch point that I want to kind of get into a bit are, everything out there is, you know, if it's not crypto, it's AI, right? And, we see the benefit of it here at Twill, implementing it into platforms. Um, but I like to ask about it. How do you feel about it? Do you use it? Do you see any opportunity for it? Maybe not on the merchant side so much, but on the sales side or implementation side. How do you guys see that playing out?
You know, I don't use AI much other than I'm in X a lot, formerly known as Twitter,
Hmm.
and they have Grok built into it, which is
Hmm.
like an AI bot. So I use that a lot.
Hmm.
Ask, but You can't rely solely on AI because it'll give you some false information, or depending on how you ask the question, is how it'll answer it. You can kind of steer it one way or the other, is what I found. I've seen from merchants, we have a couple pizzerias as clients that have AI answering the phone, taking the
Interesting.
orders,
Yeah.
and they love it. They're actually getting positive feedback that they're getting positive reviews that the person that answered the phone is very friendly. They don't.
People don't even know.
People don't even know it's getting so good. So it's. I'd say I tell everybody, look at how it can help you. I think things like that, it can really help you out.
Mhm.
Is it ever going to replace salespeople? I don't think so. I think there's something to be said about reading body language and knowing
Mm.
what to say, when to
Mhm.
say it. What's like, let's face it, like, there's no pitch for this merchant game. You have to really mirror what the customer's telling you and then move in with what the need is. People say, well, what's a good pitch? I say, there is no good pitch. You have to, here's the benefits of doing it. It's like baseball. There's four bases. Those are your four main points. The merchant's going to hover on one of them. That's a ping point for them. You don't want to be talking about option three when their option one is what they want. You don't want to just, oh, I have to go through my pitch.
Yeah.
No, no, no. You zero. So I don't think will ever get to that point
Mm.
with selling, but it's getting scary out there as far as all these AI videos and pictures, and
Mm.
now there's even in the I got involved a little bit in learning about precious metals and silver, and there is an AI silver YouTuber that's taken over the whole industry on in that space of putting. They put out maybe probably 100 videos a day, and it's incredible. And no, people don't realize it's AI and the information they're putting out there, and it's a guy that looks like he's a newscaster, and and about 6 years ago, 6 7 years ago, I was at a it was 2019. I was at a conference speaking on payments and cryptocurrency,
Mhm.
and some guy did a presentation on. He said in the future, everyone's going to have to use an antivirus that's for what they called at the time deep fakes.
Mm.
And they
Mhm.
said it's going to be deep fake detection software. And everything you see is going to scan it and tell you, is this real or fake? Because you're
Mm.
not going to know. And I said to myself, well, that seems so far off. Well, that's here.
Yeah.
That is here right now.
Yeah.
So it's scary of where we've came. But I would just tell businesses, use the AI to your advantage, learn it. I think have one or two people in your organization that learns it, knows about it, becomes an expert of it. Use it as a tool. Just like any of this stuff, don't put your head in the sand and say, I don't like it, I don't like it, I don't like it. Learn about it, use it as a tool to help you. Even with crypto, I was like that. People said, well, I don't like it. I want the world to be back to just cash. You know how many people will tell me that? I said, yeah, me too.
Yeah.
And I said, but that's not the world we're in. We're in a digital world, so we're not going back to just cash. I wish we could go back to just cash. It was a great, great world, but it's that world is gone. It's never coming back. And so you have to adapt with the times. Even we are crypto people argue with a lot of people that love gold and silver. We say, I love gold and silver, but it's never going to be used for payments. We're in a digital world.
Yeah. We're
We're not,
not going back to that 1,000 years ago, right? Like,
and I love, 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 love. I mean, I have silver in my pocket right now that I just like walk around silver. But being in the payments business, this is an ounce of silver. We're
uh,
not going to go hand this to somebody. I mean, the people that work at businesses now, most clerks they don't even want to count cash anymore.
no, they don't. They don't.
Forget. So you have to avoid. That's why I said years ago, I said, look, to the gold and silver people, crypto is a digital representation in a sense. It's a digital, we say Bitcoin's digital gold, Litecoin's digital silver, but it works perfect to transfer value around where gold and silver doesn't. Gold and silver is a store of value, but it's not a medium of exchange. So
Right.
the same thing with AI, embrace it. Don't say, "Oh, I like the world better before AI." Yeah, me too, but it's here, so we have to say, how can we use it to our advantage? And it's kids are using it. I mean, my daughter last night was freaking out because her phone is broken. She couldn't get on Chat GBT because she had to do something for school. I said, "You shouldn't be using this. Use
Yeah,
your
what do you
brain."
say?
But then I thought to myself, well, that, and she said, well, everybody's using this for this. And I said to myself, yeah, because that's the world we're in. So if you're not good at using the AI, then you're going to get left behind. It's why I always let my kids use a smartphone. And people say, oh, you gave your kids a smartphone too young. And I said, well, I didn't even turn on calling. I just wanted them to get used to it because that's the world we're in. I don't want to
Mhm.
handicap the kids. I want to let them be excel at it so they're going to advance in the world, you know what I mean? And it's but obviously, I would tell the kids, hey, off your tablets, off your phones, let's go outside, let's play volleyball, let's play soccer, let's do our
Yeah.
sports and stuff. But not taking away the tech from them and saying, oh, I'm doing a good service because my kids never used a tablet. Well, probably they're going to be behind the eight ball when they're in school. You know what I mean? So it's you know what I mean? So that's why I look at AI. It's just embrace it. Don't, it doesn't have to consume your life, but embrace it and use it as a tool to your advantage.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I have three kids as well, and I take the same view. If I give it to them as a tool, I can also be part of that experience and
Yes.
use my knowledge to shape what they think of it and how to use it. And the more you know about that, the more you know the limitations of it, and you can say, listen, you can't become a robot and write everything with ChatGPT because you forget how to think and your brain
Right.
gets dead,
Right.
right? But
Yeah.
it's very good for brainstorming or,
Yes.
whatever it
Yep.
is. And like we'll use it for math homework sometimes too, because it's great
Yep.
because it
Yeah.
it can show you step by step
Yep.
how to do a math problem without giving you the answer right away. So there are these really great use cases that you're right. You can't take this fear-based approach to it,
No.
right?
No.
You know what it's good for and what it's not.
You
And
have to, you're exactly right. Even the metaverse, these different metaverses.
right. Yeah.
Same thing with that. A few years back, I was going to buy property in a metaverse. And with property I was going to buy was like 14,000.
Whoa,
And I
my
told people
gosh.
that was in the hood in the metaverse. The best
Wow.
properties were selling for $1 million.
They were
And
getting that high? I remember
said,
hearing about that.
yeah, what the hell? And I said, no, you don't understand. Like, this is its own, like, and I said, I want to embrace it. I said, hey, I want to learn how to make money from it. Kind of like a landlord might rent to somebody where he says, hey, I don't want to be a member of that business that I'm renting to, but they're paying the rent and I'm making money. They're a great tenant. I want to make money. I tell people I want to make money from the metaverse so I can enjoy my regular life that I've
Right.
always
Yeah.
always enjoyed.
Yeah.
But I said, don't fear it. I told one of my customers he was in malls. He had retail clothing stores in malls,
Mhm.
and I told him in the future your number one store is going to be in a metaverse, and you're going to have the most people working at that store in the metaverse. And I
Hmm.
just said, this is like the next, we're on a Zoom meeting right now, but let's face it, if there was 50 of us, we couldn't do a proper Zoom meeting. We could have an office metaverse built. We could have a meeting. We could branch off. We could do, hey, you break off into groups of three. We could have tables in the metaverse set up. So metaverse becomes very realistic. And back to that point of how people would make money from it and all that. Well, if you buy a property in the metaverse, and like someone like a Snoop Dogg or an artist is having a concert in the metaverse,
Uh,
you could actually you could actually charge people to sit on your property if it's close to where that concert's at, to listen to the concert, to watch the concert, kind of like you charge people to pay to park if people build something. So basically just like the real world in this futuristic metaverse. So I just said, hey, it's not something I want to necessarily do all day long. I want to go outside, lift weights, play my sports, go walk through the woods and sniff the fresh air. But I don't want to be left behind and say, oh, the metaverse took over and I'm not even, I want to be making money and, learning about it and do at least know about it. So that's the AI approach we should all have is don't fear it, embrace it.
yeah, isn't that the essence of it, really? Is you want to free up your time to do the things you want to do. And
Yes.
if we
Yeah.
can have tools to do that for us, great.
Yeah.
Let's embrace that. And I
Yeah.
think that's the promise. I hope because that's kind of what we're building here at Twill, right? Is like we're using some AI tools to help salespeople sell easier, sell better, take care of manual work so that you can go out and sell,
Yeah.
develop relationships, or go for a walk in the woods,
Do
play
do
tennis,
what
do what
do
you
what
want.
you're good at. Yeah. I mean it's we're in a cool time in history because as much as I like the old way of doing things, we could work very remote now. I mean, I there's days I walk from here to a through a woods path to a soccer field. It's like a big field, and I sit in the sun and I take my calls. I do merchant calls.
Oh,
I
that's
had a
awesome.
conference call with somebody. They don't know where I'm at.
Yeah.
What's the matter about my office? I'm in a field. I want to be outside in the sun. And
Yes.
I remember going to work with my dad as a kid. He did outside sales, and we'd have to go to payphones with a pocket full of quarters, and he'd have to use the phone maybe for an hour and a half, calling back everybody, and maybe people would have beepers. Oh, we got a beep. Now we got to go call the person, and
Wow. Wow.
paperwork, you leave work. Now you can do everything from your phone. You can
Yep.
go in, hey, attach a document from my phone, send you an image, a screenshot right back. I mean, the power to do things at the tip of your, even last night, I was troubleshooting a merchant's POS. It's one that we're kind of like a reseller for. So going back and forth between the software company and the merchant. They kept sending me screenshots. I was forwarding them. I mean, we just pinpointed this problem so fast. I did it all from my phone. And I just thought to myself, what an amazing tool if you embrace it. Now, people could look at it and say, all this tech, this and that. Well, then you're gonna be left behind. I'm sorry, you're gonna be left behind. So, I love all this tech, so I can still live my life and do my things that I like to do.
I have one last question for you,
Sure,
if
shoot,
if
shoot.
you'll bear with me. Personal, well, kind of personal for the business. Okay, the product, and this is kind of tied into the AI. One of the things we're thinking about prototyping, or we're prototyping right now, for payments salespeople, right, is AI that will listen in while you're on a sales call, right? And, if you have an inexperienced sales agent, maybe it'll push little nudges at you on what to say and whatever. But, there's products like that out there. But really what we want it to do then is to know exactly what needs to be done from that call and then go do it, right? So if an application needs to be filled and sent out, it does that. If it needs to pull in information on a POS system and create a slideshow or send an email, it does that. It knows when to follow up the next time. So really, when you're selling, you're selling, and then the agent takes all of that and then does the back end admin stuff.
Yeah.
Do
No,
you find that useful, or is there anything there, like what would you want that agent to do if for you that is maybe, you know, bottlenecking you on that?
I think that sounds like a good tool. a really good tool. That's probably my main problem as a sale because I have a lot of merchant accounts, a lot of things on my plate. So I'll work with people of all different levels and we'll have a nice meeting. And then they're like, oh, hey, did you follow up with them via email? And I'm like, well, wait a second, that's your guys' job. What am I doing? Oh, but you said you're gonna, I'm almost like, hey, I look at sales like acting and you have to get out of your head. And I tell people I'm good at sales. I tell I'm a pretty good actor. And when I go play that role for the day, and I'm kind of like afterwards, I go back to my normal life. I forget a lot of it. I have tons of accounts. I'm doing well. So if you're starting out, don't rely on me to follow up with your deal. You don't have any residual. I do. So you're the importance for you to get that customer is way different than me. You know what I mean? So, but for me, that's all the stuff that I would be lacking with. Well, I've noticed I'm really good at supporting the customer. If they call me up, they have an issue. I'm good at diagnosing it, finding out the problem. I can diagnose pretty much on the fly and figure out what to do. And okay, we'll get you that integration. But I think anything that kind of, like you said, kind of like consolidates the data, tells you what you need, the integrations, and then can remind you what to do, send follow up emails for you. I think is really cool as long as the salesperson is involved with it and knows what's going on. Where I've seen this go bad, I got an ad from I have an Infinity car,
Hmm.
and they sent me an ad to turn in my car early. So I said, "Oh, that's pretty cool." I called them, and they had to call me back. They were like, "Well, what? Wait, why'd you?" They had like literally no clue. I'm responding to the ad. The ad. Oh yeah, that's AI doing it. We don't really. They admitted they had no clue. I don't qualify for it. They didn't even know why I was calling. So oh yeah, they just have AI doing all this stuff. So basically, Infinity, which is Nissan, is basically wasting a lot of money on AI of utilizing it, and then the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing.
Hmm.
That's what I would see AI is where they don't know what the AI is doing, and then it becomes like the blind leading the blind.
Right, right,
So you
right.
want to avoid that. You want the salesperson, I guess, engaged. Maybe I would say maybe where they have to do there'd be some extra touch points for the sales rep where they have to then maybe like log back in or make a request so it's coming to them. Maybe they have to answer something so it completes that AI request so they're at least involved and know what's going on. Because again, that was my experience where with this car dealer, and they keep sending this stuff out to me. I say, I can't believe they're wasting all this money on this, and they're just not. I don't even qualify for it, and the salespeople have no. I mean, when I tell you they had no clue, they had zero clue of what was going. I had to tell them exactly, read them the ad, I had to read them verbatim, and they were like, "What?" And I was just like, "Mike, this is bad." So I was just like, I could think of being a really good tool, but if say your AI sends a reply email out recommending things, merchant follows up with the salesperson, and the salesperson's clueless and doesn't know the integration. As the customer, I'll say, "Well, I'm not comfortable going with Johnny. He doesn't even know what he doesn't know about this stuff. I mean, I don't like. Was that even him? That you want to you want to be kind of tricked as the client where you think the AI in your mind is the salesperson, and then you don't want to think it's AI. You want to think, oh wow, Johnny really knows exactly what I need. He
He's
followed
on it.
up,
Yeah.
efficient on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it'd be that it's the platform's job then at that point to kind of educate both parties, right?
Both, they a hundred
The
percent.
merchant and the salesperson.
Yes,
Be like, here's
yeah,
what we're sending, here's what you need to know because this is what
that
we think this customer needs.
yes, exactly.
And do you want us to send this? Yes. Okay. Now I've read it and I
Maybe
know if they call, this is the plan.
Yeah, and maybe, yeah, that would be maybe even a step further to make it work just a little more efficient would be maybe before it sends, the sales rep had to like read over like a quick Cliff's Notes, how it consolidated it, and
Hmm.
then maybe answer like a almost like a captcha, but a general question about what came
Yes.
in. This
Uh-huh.
way, they because what happens is over time, people just learn how to fly through it. And yeah, yeah, I did it. I tricked the AI, so it maybe they'll spin up a bot themselves to trick the AI to send everything out for them. And then they're right, even though they had to kind of like agree to send it, they didn't. They're still not reading it. So maybe where they have to like absorb it somehow, some way. That would be that, and that would be a really effective tool, I would think,
Hmm.
of taking that sale from start to finish and using that AI to your advantage. Where even a guy like me that I know my strengths and weaknesses, but I consider myself a really good closer. If I'm with all those people I know in payments, if we got to close a deal, I'm kind of like I look at myself as like Jordan, Game 7. I want the ball.
Give me the ball.
I
Right.
want to be the closer. I'm
Yeah.
confident. I'm closing that deal.
Hmm.
But I would say, hey, wow, this AI could really help someone like me because where I know I'm a good closer, I'm not good at following up and sending those follow up emails and staying with them. I'm really bad at that. So,
Yeah.
you know, so I would say, wow, I could really use it for those parts of my process. You know what I mean? And that would be because I would think a lot of the old timers in this would say, "Oh, I don't need that. I don't need that." And it's like, no, no, you're not. This isn't replacing you. This is making you better and more efficient. And then I'm sure you guys would say, "Hey, based on you're going to make such and such more revenue each year by using this tool based on how many leads you generate. You're going to generate X amount more income that comes in." Now, if you show an old timer dollars and cents, they might say, "Well, I don't think I can use the AI, but wow, it's going to put more money in my pocket and it's not replacing me. It's just making me better." Kind of like a smartphone did. Let's
Yep.
face it, now everyone uses a smartphone where a lot of the old timers I knew would only use a flip phone for so long. Then finally, I had the point. I said, "Look, you guys got to use the smartphones. We're trying to send pictures and stuff back and forth, and you can't even get them." I told a couple guys I worked with, I said, "Guys, I love you guys, but I can't work with you anymore unless you get a smartphone because it's that challenging for me now, where you have to at least be on the same playing field as us. You're
Hmm.
great at making these phone calls. You're great at talking to the merchants." But then when you have to call me up to send them a picture, I mean, it's ridiculous. I have to stop what I'm doing to send a picture over. Guys can do this yourself. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's really cool and a good idea. And yeah, I think it could only, but that would be what I would say. The customer, the sales rep has to have involvement in it.
They have to be on the same page. That's really good
Yes.
feedback. Thank you.
Yep.
Beautiful. Well, John, thank you for taking more time with me today, a lot than we had scheduled, but this was a really fascinating discussion. Definitely, it's been insightful. Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Awesome, Michael. Have a great weekend. All right.
You too.
Enjoy that nice weather out there.
I will. It's
All right.
finally
Take
sunny
care.
again. See ya.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.